Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 207. Welcome again to the latest Business Finance Bulletin. With me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services, the commercial finance experts. In this bulletin, small businesses reluctant to borrow, government seeking views on governance and payment practices, and asset finance usage on the rise. Let's start this week's bulletin by taking a look at the latest report issued by the SME Finance Monitor team. Now, this report is produced quarterly and is probably one of the most in-depth look at businesses and their attitude to borrowing money. Now, the latest report, as at Q4 2017, has just been released, and as always, a whole little host of interesting statistics in there about how small businesses viewing borrowing money. But first of all, one thing that they consistently look at, and is always a very interesting finding from the report, is how many businesses are actually reluctant to borrow money. From the latest report, 47% of businesses classify themselves as permanent non-borrowers. Now, those are defined as businesses that haven't borrowed in the last 5 years and have no intention of borrowing going forward. So yeah, nearly 50% of the small business base doesn't want to borrow money, and that figure has remained fairly static since 2015. Looking at a shorter term, interestingly, 83% of businesses classify themselves as happy non-seekers of finance. Now, these are businesses that haven't borrowed over the last 12 months and have no intention of borrowing over the next 3 months. So 83% of them. That compares in 2012 when only 68% of businesses said they were happy non-seekers. So we can see there's been a jump there in businesses that don't wish to borrow. What about businesses that actually did borrow in 2017? Well, 5% of businesses said that they actually approached a lender for finance. Now again, that's well down. In 2012, that figure was 11%. So we can see there's quite a substantial fall in businesses going for finance. Now, why is this? Well, the team asked all these businesses who didn't want to borrow, why? Well, 47% of them said that they were discouraged from borrowing. They were listening to the doomsayers in the marketplace who were saying it's too difficult to get finance, don't even bother. 29% of them said they were put off from borrowing because of the process, all of the forms and the hassle that goes with it. But what about those who actually did decide, I want to borrow money? Well, quite surprisingly, of those businesses who borrowed over the previous 18 months, 80% of them got what they wanted. Yet 80% of businesses were successful when it came to borrowing money. That figure probably will surprise a lot of you. It just goes to show that if you put a well-written business plan together, having a great idea, and you've got a great source of repayment, and you're a profitable business, you can get the money. So if you want to know more about what you can do to increase your chances of success in getting money, don't forget, always happy to have a chat with you. Just drop us a line, info@businessloanservices.co.uk. In recent previous bulletins, I've mentioned a number of times the fallout from the liquidation of Carillion in January 2018. Now, Carillion was the UK's second largest construction company, and its failure had a catastrophic effect on a number of smaller businesses further down the supply chain. Now, the UK government has recognised that many small businesses really are the backbone of the UK economy and a really important part of the UK's industrial strategy. So the government wants to do its best by these small businesses and to make sure that businesses don't get affected in the way it did following the Carillion failure. So the UK government has just issued a new consultation paper asking for views about how UK governance can change in respect of larger businesses and particularly around payment practices. That's one focus that this consultation paper has. So the government wants to know what can it do to better protect small businesses. They're seeking views from small businesses particularly, especially if you've been affected by the Carillion failure. What would you like to see the government do to protect you? Now, if you do have direct experience of governance failures where you've been impacted by larger businesses going down, the UK government really wants to hear from you in this paper, and it's seeking views by June 2018 with your ideas of what it can do to protect small businesses from bad payment practices. So if you want to know more about this paper and what you can do to contribute, just go along to your search engine and search for insolvency consultation paper, and there you will find some details of how to access it via the gov.uk website. A really interesting consultation, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that report. At the start of this bulletin, I mentioned that there is a large number of small businesses out there who are very reluctant to borrow money. However, I'm happy to say that there is one type of finance product which is doing particularly well, and that's asset finance and leasing. Now, in the previous bulletin, I mentioned that as of January 2018, looking over a whole year, bank lending was absolutely zero. There was no growth in bank lending over the previous 12 months. However, that's not the case when it comes to asset finance. The latest figures from the Finance and Leasing Association have revealed that its members, in terms of new business volumes written, actually increased by 4% in the business written in January 2018 compared to January 2017. Now, how does that break down in terms of assets being financed? Well, if we look year on year, in terms of plant and equipment, there's been an 11% increase over the whole year in the amount of business written in buying plant and equipment. In terms of business equipment, there was a 7% jump, but interestingly, when it comes to commercial vehicles, that was flat. There was 0% growth. So perhaps we're seeing businesses being a little bit more discerning as to exactly what they are financing. Vehicles, no thank you. Plant and equipment, business equipment generally, all stuff which really adds value to a business, there we're seeing strong growth. If you want to know more about asset finance and how it can work, don't forget, just drop us an email and we'll happily have a chat with you about the various options. Well, that's it for another bulletin. As ever, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a like and a share. Thanks very much for being with me. Look forward to being with you next week, and in the meantime, have a great, successful and profitable week.